with me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Broncos, Chiefs, AFC West family business. You know how the family do it. Who didn't see this one coming? Chiefs get the win 22-16. Thought it would have been a slightly larger margin for the Chiefs, but this is what I told you on the podcast on Friday, that I expected a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. That's exactly what we had, a one-score game. And for the most part, it was a one-score game the entire second half. And I knew the Chiefs would pull away late. I thought they would pull away a little bit bigger. And I thought that Tyreek Hill touchdown was going to do it. And it would have played out exactly the way that I thought it would have had that Tyreek Hill touchdown not been negated by the holding penalty on L.A.B. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs were going to struggle with this Broncos team. I told you that the first meeting between the two of them, it got out of hand, and I thought Chris Collinsworth explained it perfectly, that it was really going similar to what we saw tonight. Similarly, run the football, try to keep the football out of the offense of Mahomes and company's hands, shorten the game. And they had that one mistake, that pick six. It was picked off by Nick Sorensen, taken the other way. Then you get the Pringle touchdown, and the game kind of just got away from the Broncos that day in the snow. And the Broncos are good enough defensively. We've seen this. I told you, Vic Fangio is good at what he does. You know, there aren't a lot of these guys that you just say, okay, it doesn't matter what happens, the defense is going to play. He's one of those guys in the league where you go, okay, I don't really know what they're going to do on offense. I don't really care who's out there defensively, because you saw guys were falling left and right for the Broncos. They got guys on injured reserve. No Von Miller, their best player. Doesn't matter. He's going to figure it out. He's going to scheme it up. And when you look at this team and what they've gone through this year, they've been through 3 different quarterbacks. And when you watch them and you see what they've done this season, and you say to yourself, they're 4-8. They were 4-7 coming into this game. That's a hell of a job by Vic Fangio. I don't know how much longer he's going to last in Denver, but there's definitely work for him in this league as a defensive coordinator if all else fails in Denver. I think he's gotten a raw deal since he got the job. We knew that first year he was going to struggle. The second year, they were expecting big things this year because of the way Drew Lock ended the season. We'll talk about Denver and Drew Lock and the parallels to Dwayne Haskins a little bit later on in the show. I don't want to start with Denver because they lost the game. They're 4-8. Let's talk about the 11-1 Kansas City Chiefs, because I feel like not enough people talk about them as is. Okay? So tonight was one of those nights where it's family business. They know you. You know them. You just got to find a way. And you're not having your best game. You don't have your fastball. Similar to what we saw from the Steelers on Wednesday. It's the exact same game. Family business, at the crib, primetime spot. They know you. You know them. All right. All your little tricks, all that stuff, not going to work. You saw them try to reverse in the red zone. And the Broncos was like, nah, get that shit out of here, man. Come on now. You're not playing the Dolphins. All right. You're not playing the Buccaneers. We know you too well. You got to do something else. That shit isn't going to cut it. So it was one of those games that you knew this was going to be a 12-round fight. This wasn't going to be a 5th-round knockout. This was going to the scorecards. And we knew the Chiefs were going to win. They were going to outpoint the Denver Broncos. But it was going to the scorecards. And we knew it was going to be a unanimous decision. But, again, they were going to hang tough. And they dropped passes tonight. They had penalties. Mahomes missed Tyreek Hill on the opening possession of the game. Tyreek Hill usually catches that touchdown that he actually did catch, but he thought he dropped it, and they didn't challenge it because he didn't think he caught it. So he didn't go over to the sideline and say, hey, coach, I caught it, because he thought it fell himself. Like, those things generally don't happen. Those are usually points. That's usually a Tyreek Hill touchdown. That first possession, Mahomes usually hits him. That's usually a Tyreek Hill touchdown. Those weren't touchdowns tonight. And it was one of those types of games. You know, opportunities there, just slightly off. And so the Broncos were able to hang in this game. You got a heavy dose of L.Bell tonight. because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was dealing with the sickness all week long. He was active, but they did not want to play him unless need be. And so the running game was okay, but it wasn't stellar. The Denver Broncos sure ran the shit out of the football tonight. We'll talk about that here in a second. But it was one of those games where you just find a way to win. Again, 3 weeks from now, nobody will really analyze this game. We'll just look at the left-hand column. Is there a brick for the Week 13 game versus the Broncos in the left-hand column? We'll see the brick in the left-hand column. We'll count it, and we'll keep it pushing. It wasn't pretty tonight. But when you're 11-1, they're not all going to be pretty. Okay? Just like the Steelers are 11-0 right now. And I can tell you, a lot of those 11 wins aren't pretty. But they're gritty, and most importantly, they're dubs. And that's what the good teams in this league do. Let's just find a way to win. No, we're not going to get caught up in the granular details. That's what the losing teams do. We get caught up in the granular details of how we won. It wasn't convincing because we're not used to winning. So, we want to be able to embarrass the opponent. It feels great. The Chiefs, whether they beat you by 30 or they beat you by 3, it's a win. They move on because at the end of the day, they're just trying to get to the postseason. That's when it really matters. That's when you'll see the Chiefs play some of their best football. They're just trying to get to the postseason. 6 straight postseason berths. They clinched tonight for the Chiefs. I guess that's going to be one of the longest streaks in the league, I would assume. Obviously, the Patriots are going to be in there, but that's going to come to an end this season. So I don't know of many other teams that have a streak as long as 6 straight seasons in the postseason. The Packers don't. The Ravens don't. Like I said, I think it's just the Patriots and the AFC, if I had to guess. And as you mosey on to the NFC side of things, the Packers don't. The Saints don't. The Rams don't. They missed last year. So I don't know if there are many teams that you look at and say, maybe Seattle. If I had to put money on it, I can't confirm nor deny that. But if I had to say it's one team in the NFC, it'd be Seattle. If I got to go to the AFC side of things, it's New England, and it's this Chiefs team. And New England looks like it's going to come to an end this season. So that's a hell of a feat in itself, 6 straight years. It's just hard to do in this league. And they've done it with Alex Smith. Now they're doing it with Patrick Mahomes. And they're going to clinch this division here in a bit. And they're going to be the team, I think, that represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. I truly believe that. Because, again, it wasn't pretty tonight. But I think they can run it a little bit better than they have been able to in the past. I do think they can do that. You saw at the end of the game, they put the ball in the hands of Williams, and he ran the football effectively. Le'Veon Bell did some good things early in the football game. Nothing spectacular, but, good enough to sustain. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had some big games. I think, the Buffalo game comes to mind in a wet, what was that, a Monday, or was that a Tuesday game? I think it was a Monday game against the Bills on the road that got rescheduled. And then I think about the Houston Texans game in week 1 to kick the season off. He's had some big games when they turned around and needed him to tote the rock, 27 carries here, 25 or whatever. He's done that. So they've shown the ability to run it. We know Mahomes. And I've always said they're their most dangerous. They're at their most dangerous when they've got Samuel Watkins in the lineup. Because, again, there's Hill, there's Kelsey, and when you get that third option in there of Samuel Watkins, they're impossible to stop because you can slow down Hill, you can put the safety over the top, you can bracket him, you can do whatever you can try to take away Kelsey, you can try to bracket him in and out, coverage him inside. You still are going to have to pay the piper at some point because there's still Samuel Watkins, there's still Mecole Hardman, so there's still other options available. There's still Demarcus Robinson. But when Samuel Watkins is in the lineup, there's another elite option to get you, another former first-round pick that can get you. So he's back. I looked at this game, and I said, this is what I expect from family business with a team like Denver that can play exceptional defense. They're going to jam. They jam a lot of teams up. They'll hem a lot of teams up in this league. And then you factor in that it's family business and they know the Chiefs intimately, you knew that there was a chance that they could be in this ball game with a chance to win late. And they did exactly what I thought they would do. But as I expected, not enough ammunition, not enough firepower on the offensive side to get it done. And we also have to talk about this Chiefs defense. they're better than they have been in the past. We've already stated that early on this season. We realized much better unit, much more confidence with this unit. Now, they still have some issues. They were run on tonight. And you can run on this Chiefs defense. You can move the football on this Chiefs defense. But when they're healthy, and they seem to be healthy right now, this is the one thing I still got an issue with the Chiefs with. And it is what it is. For one, if Chris Jones isn't getting pressure on the interior, they get no pressure. I told you I was never a Frank Clark fan. Never thought he was worth the money that they paid him. And I took it a step further. Frank was talking all of that cold, hard cash last year. Remember when he had the postseason run and he was doing all these things and everybody was giving Frank Clark all this love. And I was like, hey, Frank's cool. Frank's not elite. Frank's not even close to elite. And, Frank was spouting off about how he was the best in this and this, that, and the third. I'm like, hey, Frank, go sit down somewhere, man. You're average as hell. Where was Frank Clark tonight? Because I didn't see him. I never see Frank Clark, for that matter. How many sacks does Frank Clark? I want to look this up. Just my luck, he'll have 7.5. I bet you he's got less than 4. I'm just going to go out on a limb. I don't know. I'm just talking. I just know how I feel about Frank, and I know I watch all the Chiefs games, and I don't really hear a lot from Frank Clark. So let's look Frank Clark up and see what he's done this season. And I think that's a lot of these teams this year that are good. I just don't think they have elite pass rushers, or they can't get to the quarterback consistently enough. 4 sacks on the season. So he hit right at that threshold. If I were putting out a number, it would have been over under 4. I would have went under. I would have lost. But it was 4. So that's, to me, the biggest issue is they don't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. The better defenses in the league get pressure on the quarterback. The Rams get pressure on the quarterback. The Giants get pressure on the quarterback. Washington can get pressure on the quarterback. But when you look at a lot of these better teams, the upper echelon teams, a lot of them can't get to the quarterback consistently. Green Bay has a problem getting to the quarterback consistently. I think this Chiefs team has a problem getting to the quarterback consistently. Now, the Steelers are the anomaly right now. They're the outlier of all the elite teams. I think the Saints can get to the quarterback pretty good too. When they've got all their cylinders firing, they can get to the quarterback well and force the issue. So there are a couple, but they're not a ton. Like last year, it seemed like everybody was getting to the quarterback. Green Bay was getting to the quarterback. San Francisco was getting to the quarterback. The Steelers, even though they weren't a good team, they were getting to the quarterback. The Seahawks, we knew that they had some issues, but when Clowney was healthy, they could get to the quarterback. So I said, and even this Chiefs team got to the quarterback a little bit last year. Not so much this year. And so I think that's an issue. But overall, they're better defensively. I think their secondary, They played well tonight, though. All in all, this Chiefs team, I think, is the best in the AFC. And until somebody knocks them off that throne, I'm going to continue to believe that. I think they're better than the Steelers. I think that they'll be able to move the football and score on the Steelers. And I think that they'll be able to do enough, because I'm not blown away by the Steelers' offensive attack. I think they'll be able to do enough defensively to slow down Pittsburgh and win in a battle against the Steelers. And I think we're going to see that game, because I really do believe that those are the two best teams in the AFC. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. One's 11-0, the other's 11-1. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But I think that, because in certain instances and seasons, the best two teams don't play each other. Like last year, for instance, Ravens Chiefs. We thought we were on a crash course for that game in the AFC Championship, and the Titans said, "No, you're not. We're gonna wreck that right now." First game out of the gate for the Ravens off their bye. Tennessee goes to their building and beats them up good. Ends all of that 28-12. Dead. Just like that. So you don't always get what you think you're going to get. I think we're actually going to get that this year. But, AFC is much more competitive. You run into the wrong team. We know styles make fights. Should be interesting, because the Browns, all of a sudden, I might have had them pegged wrong after watching them today. I'll tell you that, you know what? I'll talk about that tomorrow on the podcast. Anyway, Chiefs did what they needed to do. Sustain the offense at the end. And I thought the biggest drive of the game was the last drive because they needed to get into field goal range, and they did. And they've got a hell of a kicker in Harrison Butker. And that's another thing, having a reliable kicker that is going to bang it home for you in crucial situations. I don't know if anybody's been more clutch this season than Harrison Butker. He did it again. He did it again in this game. The Chargers game comes to mind where he had to bang home, 3 50-yarders, 4 if you count the one that didn't count, 2 in a row after having the timeout called. He's been exceptional this year. And he did it again. That 48-yarder was huge because it forced a young Denver Broncos team to have to score a touchdown and not be able to tie the game and send it to overtime with a field goal as they get it done 22-16 to move to 11-1 on the season for the Broncos. I think this is an interesting final 4 games of the season because in this day and age in the NFL, everyone wants quarterbacks and young players to be microwavable. They want to be able to stick them in the microwave, heat them up, and have them come out ready to go. Smoking, hot, ready to go. Let's go. And it doesn't work that way, And I always like to point to Josh Allen. He's the greatest example that we have, the most recent example that we have of a guy that just took a little bit longer. And even when you think you've got it figured out, like Carson Wentz in Philadelphia, you don't sometimes. So I said all of that to say this. I still believe in Drew Lock. You know how I feel about him. It's hard when you take a guy's best target away from him, which is Cortland Sutton, and you replace him with a bunch of young guys who don't know any better. It's the blind leading the blind in Denver right now. You got Jerry Jeudy as a rookie. You got KJ Hamler as a rookie. Tim Patrick, who's just really getting his feet wet. I think this is like his 2nd or 3rd year in the league as an undrafted rookie, or undrafted free agent, I should say. And Noah Fant in his 2nd year. It's just a lot of young parts out there for Denver. And to take it a step further, Drew Lock finished up the season, 4-1 last year at the end. That's 5 starts. We are now 12 games in this year, but he missed at least another 4 or 5 games this year. So we're probably looking at a guy that hasn't still started a full 16-game NFL season if you want to, take all of that into consideration. I liken it to Dwayne Haskins. It's ironic that both of those quarterbacks were in the 2019 draft. Both of those quarterbacks got to play at the end of their rookie seasons. Both impressed in massive ways. I think Drew Lock even to a greater extent because Broncos fans, I myself got sucked in because I'm a massive Drew Lock fan. I wanted Washington to take him. I didn't think he should have fell out of the first round, but he did. I thought it was a steal for Denver in the 2nd round to get a guy with first-round talent. Obviously, the rest of the league did not believe that was the case. And so I thought him showing out the way that he did at the end of the season, he was lighting it up to the point where Denver said, hell, with the way Vic Fangio coaches up defense and with the pieces that we have, and they went out and added some guys in the offseason like A.J. Boye, and they traded for the defensive tackle from Tennessee. And they felt like, all right, we're really about to amp up the defensive side, and take that next step defensively with Vic calling the shots on the defensive side. Now we just need to ramp up the offense with Drew playing the way that he did at the end of last season. We could be a playoff team next year. That's the way they were approaching it. They went out, they got Jerry Jr. first round, got KJ Hamler in the 2nd round, and even went and got the tight end that he played with at Missouri in like the 4th or 5th round. So Albert O. So they added all of this weaponry. They signed Melvin Gordon the 3rd in free agency, who was spectacular tonight. And you look at that offense, you say it's loaded. Well, KJ Hamler missed a huge chunk of the year with injuries, and he was in and out of the lineup. You lose Cortland Sutton literally in week 2, and so he's gone. Locke gets hurt in that same week 2 matchup versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, so he's out for an extended period of time. He comes back. Guys are in and out of the lineup. It never really meshes the way you want it to. And so I still think that Drew Lock is a good enough young quarterback that you continue to roll with. But in this day and age of impatient fans and front offices and coaching staffs, who knows what'll happen. If these final 4 games don't go well, you could see Denver having a knee-jerk reaction, as they usually do with John Elway, and he could be out of there. And when I say out of there, not gone off the roster, but they could be looking elsewhere for a quarterback. They may try to bring in a veteran next year. There'll be guys available in free agency, potentially. Or they may look to the draft, depending on where they draft. I mean, this quarterback draft class, I think in 2021 is going to be loaded. There are going to be at least 8, 9 guys, maybe even 10, that are NFL caliber quarterbacks that can come in the league and be starters, in 3 years time or so. For some it'll be rookie season, for others 2 years in, 3 years in, whatever the case. There're going to be a bunch of guys that can play talent-wise in this league coming into the draft, and the Broncos will have a decision to make. And I think these final 4 games might be a referendum on Drew Lock. I thought he was solid tonight. I did not think he was great. Obviously, the 2 interceptions, people are going to point to those, and one at the end of the game when they had a shot. Obviously, tough spot to be in, no timeouts. You need a touchdown, trying to push the football down the field. But at the end of the day, I think this guy's got tremendous talent. I'd like to see him with a full deck, with a full offseason, with everybody ready to go, and give him an opportunity. I'd like to see him get next year in what we think could be a normal situation, COVID-19 free. You go in, training camp, you get all your pieces back, you get your defense back, and I'd like to see Vic Fangio. I'd like to run it back one more time. I don't know if I'm going to get that, because 2 years in a row, this Denver Broncos team is going to stink. Vic Fangio and the Denver Broncos is going to be picking it, somewhere in the top 15 for the second year in a row. I don't know if we're going to get that. It'd be nice if they ran it back one more time and say, all right, Vic, we're going to give you one more year. I know it hasn't been fair, but we're going to give you one more year. Hopefully we stay healthy this year. Hopefully Drew Lock's your guy, but this is it. And if it doesn't work, then you move on then. But I'm a proponent of giving a young quarterback at least 3 seasons. At least 3 seasons. And really, if he hasn't started a full 2 seasons, it's still hard for me. Now, again, sometimes you can see it immediately. You can see it. It won't take you long. 4 or 5 games, you're like, okay, this guy cannot do it. But you see everything. You see the athleticism. You see the mobility. You see the arm talent. You see the ability to throw on the move. You see everything that you need to see from Drew Lock. It's all there. The package is all there. I just think he needs more time. There was a pass late in the game where you could tell it was just he wasn't on the same page with the young receiver. He thought the receiver was going out. He went in. Ball wasn't where they thought it was going to be. Receiver was going inside. He threw it outside. Little nuances like that. That's time. Only time can iron those things out. So I thought Melvin Gordon was awesome. How good would he be with the Chargers right now? How could they not use them some Melvin Gordon the third this year? And their rookie, their young backs haven't been terrible. And Eckler has been great when he's been healthy, but he was outstanding tonight, and he gave him a shot. Over 100 yards. Didn't have a ton of carries either. Him and Phillip Lindsay are a nice little 1-2 punch in that backfield. And I would just like to see them run this back next year with Phillip Lindsay and Gordon in the backfield, and you get Cortland Sutton back. You got year 2 of Judy, year 2 of Hamler. Tim Patrick is evolving. I like him a lot, And you got Noah Fant, Nick Van Nett, Albert O, all of that stuff. You just bring all of that back. Just bring it back. Run it back one more time. You get Von Miller back on the defensive side of the football. AJ Bouye, and you'll have I actually like Michael Ojemudia, and he'll be a second-year corner. I don't know what you're going to do with Justin Simmons. I think you'd be foolish to let him walk away. I think he's the heart and soul of that defense in the secondary on the back end, but we'll see what happens with him. He's playing on a franchise tag right now. I just say you run it back. Bradley Chubb, Von Miller. You'll get the Tennessee Titan defensive tackle who got injured for the season. You get him back in the mix. I love Shelby Harris. He was big tonight with a bunch of batted balls. Again, I can't say this enough. Run it back one more time. They hung in tough tonight. Tim Patrick, how about that catch for the touchdown? Pinned it against his helmet, then brought it in. I've liked him all season long, man. Tim Patrick he got an opportunity with the injuries, and he's made the most of it. He'll be in the league for a decade now. He's stamped his a career approval this year with what he's done. You do the things he's done this season, and everyone around the league takes notice. He'll be around. He'll be like a Dontrell Inman, where he'll just be around, whether it's with 3 or 4 different teams, or if it's with Denver for 7 years and then he ends up somewhere else. He'll end up in the league for a good 8, 9, 10 years. When it's all said and done, you'll look up and Tim Patrick will just be around because he's shown the ability to make plays. And he made some big plays tonight, and none were bigger than the touchdown grab. That's great coverage by Bashaud Breeland. Can't do it much better than that, and he still pulled it in, got 2 feet down, and gave the Broncos a chance in this football game. So just fell short. Not enough bullets in the gun, and that's what we expected, but they hung tough. All right. Let's get to the comment section. Got a comment here from Hank Midas. Broncos D put up a valiant effort. That they did, and that's what I expect from them. Again, if you are in the comment section, you're new, welcome. Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Also hit the like button, but more importantly, if you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent. They did put up a valiant effort. I expected that. I think many of you, if you've been paying attention close enough and knowing that it's family business, you too should have expected a valiant effort. I knew they were going to hang in there. Did I expect 0 of 3 deep into the fourth quarter in the red zone for this Chiefs offense? No. I'm not going to sit here and act as if I thought the Broncos were going to be that proficient in the red zone with their defense. I liken it to what the Ravens did to the Steelers. It's ironic that the 2 best teams in the league played divisional opponents at the crib on primetime television and struggled mightily against those opponents, especially in the red zone. The Steelers struggled against the Ravens in the red zone, had to settle for a bunch of field goals. Same thing tonight with the Chiefs versus this Denver Broncos defense. But Vic Fangio, it's what he does. He's one of the better defensive minds in football. Niners fan says, what up, Lou? If Mullins plays well tomorrow, I'll admit that I was wrong about him, but if he stinks it up like the Philly game, I'm done with him as the backup. I've always said, in this league, you want a backup quarterback that's going to do something. Nick Mullins is going to do something. Now, he may throw the other team into a win. He may throw your team into a win. Either way, he's going to do something. Those guys make for the best backups. Ryan Fitzpatrick, case in point. When you bring a guy like that into the game, like Colt McCoy, to me, is the worst type of backup to have. Now, when you got a dominant defense, like the Giants had today, you can get away with a Colt McCoy. But technically, you're going to lose games with guys like Colt McCoy because they come in and they're game managers and they're not trying to make a mistake, even though he's still going to make a mistake because he's Colt McCoy, which he did throw a pick today because he's Colt McCoy. You want a guy that's going to come in and sling the rock. Just throw caution to the wind. Give me a shot. Because, again, more likely than not, if you're in the game, we're not going to score a bunch of points unless you do something. So Nick Mullins, he comes in and he starts firing the rock around. I love it. Now, again, he's going to have some games you're like, this guy stinks. Well, we say the same thing about Fitzpatrick. Fitty. I call him Fitty for a reason. Because it's a 50% chance he can come in and light it up. It's a 50% chance he can come in and stink it up. But you roll the dice, you kiss them, and you hope they come up nice. And I feel the same way about Nick Mullins. But those make for the best backups. You'll always find guys like Mullins in the league because they'll make enough splashy plays and they'll make enough plays to remain a commodity in this league. So, I'll tell you this. Colt McCoy, if not for the injuries, probably out of the league by now. If he would have had to play more, he'd probably be out of the league right now because Colt McCoy stinks. Got a super chat. Stu Meat, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Legacy 2901 says, once the Chiefs went up 6, was anyone really scared of Drew Lock leading the game-winning drive? I wasn't. But I never thought the Chiefs were in danger of losing this game. I never really felt that way. Okay, I knew it was going to be close. This is what I expected. Now, had they been down 3, I would have been really interested to see had he been able to get them in the field goal range. I think he would have been able to do it. But needing a touchdown with no timeouts and just a minute left, nah, he wasn't going to do that. You're asking a lot of any quarterback in the league, especially a second-year quarterback that's pretty much functioning as a rookie right now. No way. Asan Moore says, Melvin Gordon was a beast tonight, and he plugs in the running game. Do you think Lindsey should be the number 2 back? I mean, you're splitting hairs. They both get carries in Denver. You know, 1 back, 2 back, doesn't matter. You know, you go with the hot hand. If Lindsey's running it well and he's eating up the defense, you keep rolling with Lindsey. And you platoon in Gordon. If Gordon's got the hot hand like he had tonight, I bet you he had more carries than Lindsey tonight. You just keep going with him. Let's check and see. Who had the most carries for? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Gordon. And it was even. 15 for Gordon, 131 yards on 15 carries, and 14 for Lindsey. And he only had 26 yards. So you feed the hot hand, but that guy gets tired too. It's good to have Philip Lindsay come in when Melvin Gordon gets tired or vice versa. JP says, so what's with the excuse for Drew Lock this time? They gave him all the talent in the world and Denver still stinks. Again, it's opinions like that that may push Drew Lock, out of the starting quarterback chair, and they may turn to someone else. You can give a guy all the talent in the world. I just explained to you why the situation is not ideal for him right now. He's been in and out of the lineup himself with an injury. KJ Hamler's been in and out of the lineup. Cortland Sutton is your best wide receiver. He's been out the entire season. Jerry Jeudy had the drops early in the season. He's starting to figure it out, but he's still a rookie. So is KJ Hamler. Noah Fant is a second-year tight end. All of this stuff is great, and they're all talented, and it takes time. But again, if we would have sat here 3 years ago, you're the same people that would have wanted to run Josh Allen out of Buffalo. So again, if you want to produce a good NFL quarterback, it takes patience. Every quarterback isn't going to come in the league and just start lighting it up. Talent or no talent surrounding him, you got to, you look at, for instance, look at the Chargers situation with their quarterback, Justin Herbert. Burst onto the scene. Well, they got their guy. Well, do they? We'll see. I think we all feel like he's the guy. But he was awful today. He's been awful at times this season. It's what young quarterbacks do. And we can sit here and talk about, well, they should have won this game, should have won that game, had the chance to win this game, had a chance to win that game. It doesn't matter. They're 3-9 in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And Herbert's been the starting quarterback for 11 of those games. Okay? He's 2-9 as the Chargers starter. They're not winning games. They don't have talent in Los Angeles. They don't have Mike Williams. They got talent. He's still losing games. Is it all his fault? No. But that's what happens. We all think that Justin Herbert can do it, but he makes mistakes too. That's what young quarterbacks do. And Drew Lock, as I mentioned, hasn't stayed healthy, which is what you want. You want guys to get reps. That's the one thing I can say about Josh Allen, is he's been really durable in Buffalo, and he stayed healthy, and he got experience. Experience is the mother of all kinds of NFL invention. If you want to be able to be great, you have to have experience. Like Andy Reid trying all these plays, they only work if you get them in a game and you actually execute it. You can do it in practice all you want. You can watch it on film, With this high school team or this team back in the 60s, it's got to work on the field. Only way you're going to figure that out is through experience. Same thing with playing. And these young players. Yeah, Drew Lock, I'm talking about, there's not that much difference between the SEC defenders and the NFL defenders, in terms of athleticism and speed. But these NFL guys are really, really smart. The only way you figure that out? By playing. Making mistakes. Well, shit, I can't do that anymore. I used to do that in Missouri all the time. Well, guess what? You're not in Missouri anymore. And he'll learn. And he'll get better. But at the end of the day, it's just time. And if you're not willing to give guys time to figure stuff out, then you're never going to be successful in this league. If you're willing to give up on a guy after, like I said, with Drew Lock, I'm guessing we're at, I'd put it at 12 starts. Let's look and see how many games he's played this season. I'm putting it at 12 starts this year for Drew, 12 for a career. 5 last year, 7 this year. Let's see what we got for Drew Lock. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games he's played in this year, and he played in 5 last year. So 14 career starts. Mind you, the Pittsburgh start was literally 2 passes maybe. So really you're talking about 13 starts because he got hurt in that Pittsburgh game fairly early and came out. So 13 games essentially in 2 seasons. And it's been a mixed bag. There are times where this guy is playing exceptional football and you think, they got the same thing you're saying about Justin Herbert right now. It's the same thing you said about Drew Lock last year when he was tearing the league up and he was throwing all these touchdown passes and they were making all these plays and they were winning games. It's the same shit you said about him last year that you're saying about Justin Herbert and Tua and all these guys. They got their franchise quarterback. Patience. It's a virtue. Anyway, I got another super chat. I'm going to go ahead and take that. This one is from Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, morning G-Men win tonight. Iron the whites for tomorrow. You know what? I'm not mourning the G-Men win. I'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't want to bog this show down with that. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm going to do a Washington pregame show tomorrow. We'll talk all about it tomorrow. I hope I need to iron the whites. But, I'm preparing to put on the black. So, you see me. I'm practicing right now. We'll see what happens. I hope I'm wrong. I do. But we'll see. Anyway, Asan Moore says, I thought the Broncos would come out with the win, but they failed. Tyreek is a beast. Never thought they were going to win this game. And yes, Tyreek Hill is a beast. Asan also says, how about that catch from Tim Patrick? It was a beauty. Yes, it was. Reese says, what up? I was just wondering, is all well with the COVID front? I know you had a scare. Yeah, everything's good, man. Thank you for your concern. Really appreciate that. But yeah, all is good here in the Louie T household, man. Appreciate that. Asan Moore says, this Broncos defense is good. No wonder why it is one of the best. I told you, Vic Fangio is a mastermind, and he's had a bunch of moving parts, and he still finds a way to get it done. Isang Bassi went down tonight, and that didn't look good. That's probably a torn ACL if I had to guess. And they just plugged in the next guy. And they were already without Bryce Callahan, who I loved as a free agent a few years back, coming out of Chicago, wanted Washington to sign him, and he wasn't out there. He was banged up. So they're doing it with a bunch of different guys. Obviously no Von Miller. Don't worry about it. They'll figure it out. Rich says, Drew Lock stinks. They need a new quarterback. Jonathan, what up, Louie? Hope you're doing well. I'm glad my Colts won today, but Reich almost cost us the game. Got to kick that field goal. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I honestly don't know sometimes what these coaches are doing. Now, ultimately, you could argue, okay, didn't kick the field goal, but you ended up getting a safety out of that because of the field position that they had, and you turned around and got to Deshaun Watson, and it got you the safety. But You could have lost this game 27-26, and that's essentially what you're talking about. I agree with you. You kick the damn field goal, you go up 7, and you force the Texans to have to beat you in overtime if it comes to that. If you guys would have lost this game 27-26, he'd had a lot of questions to answer. A lot of questions because that wasn't smart. But I'm going to just tell you right now, Frank Reich comes from the school of Doug Peterson. They were together in Philadelphia. Both of these guys are geniuses. And I don't mean that in a nice way. He's the same way. He's cut from the same cloth. He's going to try to go for it and beat. He's always going to err on the side of over-aggression, which to me is stupid as hell. So he's just like Doug Peterson. When it works, you look like a smart ass, and everybody's going to pat you on the back. When it doesn't work, everybody wants to know, what the hell is he doing? He's been doing that shit. It's not new. It's just worked in the past, so you gave him a pass. Now it's not working. Now you got problems with it. You can't have a problem with it now. Either you're going to roll with him when he's doing the stupid shit and it's working, and you got to roll with him when he's not. Either you're going to roll with him when it's working and it's not working, or you're going to chastise him even when the shit works. But don't get mad when it doesn't work, because you were cool with it when it did work. I never understand why these guys feel like analytics, got to go for it. Analytics says, I got to go for it on 4th and 1 right here. No, you are the coach. You got a feel for the game. Kick the damn field goal. Anyway, you won the game, 26-20. Reese says, Vic Fangio shouldn't be fired. He was dealt a shit hand this season, and they are still playing their asses off. I feel the same way, but, fair doesn't come into the equation in the NFL a lot of times. It doesn't, I'm not a huge fan of John Elway, and usually when the shit hits the fan, John Elway is the best at passing the buck. Not my fault. It's his fault. I'll make sure I fix it. So if the heat comes John's way again, he may pass the buck down to Vic Fangio. And how many coaches is he going to get to hire and fire? Anyway, again, he won the Super Bowl, so you get a pass for a few years, but at some point that Super Bowl coupon runs out, and you need to be held responsible too. Anyway, Assam Moore says, do you think the Chiefs' run defense is starting to show problems, and why was it so bad? Because Melvin Gordon was a showstopper. I don't know the reason for the run defense not being good, because they got some guys that are thumpers in that front seven. Anthony Hitchens is a physical inside linebacker. Chris Jones, one of the best defensive tackles in all of football. I talk about Frank Clark as a non-participant as a pass rusher at times, but he's solid in the run game. As solid as it gets as an edge rusher in terms of setting a physical edge and making tackles in the run game. So they got the guys up front that you would believe would be able to get, guys on the ground and get into their proper gaps and run fits and whatnot. But they had some issues tonight. That's for damn sure. Gregory Lightbody says, what are the Washington football team going to do with Haskins if they don't win the division and have to draft a quarterback? Well, it doesn't really matter what they do, whether they win the division and win a playoff game, or they're trading him in the offseason. He's not going to – I don't anticipate him being here no matter what past free agency. I think they're going to try to move him. If they're unsuccessful then, they may try to move him at the draft, but he's gone. I don't see him being on the roster again next year. I just don't. I think they're going to draft a young quarterback, and I wouldn't be shocked if they brought back all of the guys sans for Haskins, meaning they re-sign Kyle Allen, and Alex Smith is already under contract, and they just bring him back too. Reese says, if the mob boss Fangio does end up getting canned, Todd Bowles can go be a head coach, and I'll take him as our DC. Thing about that is he's a 3-4 guy. And I know you run a 4-3 in Tampa, and I don't necessarily know if you got all the pieces to run a 3-4 or not. I know you got a bunch of linebackers, and if you got linebackers, you can get the defensive linemen. It's a different setup, obviously, from being a 1 or a 3 tech to now being a 5 tech. But you got a nose already. You can make that transition. What am I saying? You got all the pieces you need. You got Vernon, you got Golston, William Golston. That'll be your nose right there. I'm pretty sure you got two guys that can man up the ends. I don't know how much more money you want to pay Sue, but Sue could play a 5-tech for you if he wanted to come back. You wanted to pay him one more time. You can make this transition. That's all I need to say. Iron Rain says Chris Collinsworth is effing awful. How is he doing primetime games and Mike Tirico is doing college? Because he was there first. That's their money group. And remember, Tirico was at ESPN and came over to NBC, and he already knew what he was signing up for. I love Mike Tirico. He's the best in the business. It was such a pleasure last week to hear him, not once but twice. He did the Sunday night game with the Packers and the Bears last week, and he did the Wednesday game with the Ravens and Steelers. Like I said, I get my Mike Tirico fix because I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, and he does the Notre Dame games. But at some point, Tirico, and I think this was, explained to him, at some point, they're going to go to Mike Tirico. But remember, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth don't do the same thing. Mike Tirico is a play-by-play guy. Chris Collinsworth is an analyst. So those are two different jobs. If Tirico were to take over, it would be for Al Michaels as the play-by-play, and Chris Collinsworth would remain the analyst. So you're not getting rid of Chris Collinsworth. So it's a different thing. The analyst is usually a former player, someone with intimate knowledge of the game, and the play-by-play guy is the broadcaster. So your traditional broadcaster. So Tirico wouldn't be taking over for Collinsworth. Anyway, Hank Midas says, Shelby Harris' forearms might hurt tomorrow from those batted balls. Man, he was batting down every damn thing tonight. And they say the Denver Broncos lead the league in batted balls, and he's probably a huge reason why. So I always complain about my team not batting down any balls. It takes a high level of awareness to understand I'm not getting to the quarterback. Quick passing game, whatever the case may be, let me get my hands up. He seems to understand that. Assam Moore says, do you think Big Ben will play tomorrow? What kind of a question is that? HHC Lunar says, I'm glad this was on Sunday night so the world could see how good Bradley Chubb is. Bradley Chubb is a hell of a football player. And he's that much better when Von Miller is around. And remember, he dealt with the ACL last year. So, I'm going to give him a year to get back to where he needs to be. But remember, he had that game, I want to say it was the Jets, when they won their first game of the season, when they had Brett Rippon in there. I think he had 3 sacks that night. So we've seen Bradley Chubb go off already this season. Ree, you ask me this every single year. We have this discussion every single year. Favorite Christmas movies: Home Alone, Grinch, and the greatest Christmas movie ever made, Die Hard. I am personally a Home Alone guy myself. I might be forgetting another Christmas movie, but I'm not a massive Christmas movie guy per se. I'm a Home Alone guy though. Anyway, I'd have to sit and think about that. Assam Moore, there was a lot of missed extra points around the NFL. Seems like they're starting to miss more kicks than they usually would. It's a hit or miss thing. This league, you'll get a weekend where you get a bunch of missed kicks, and then you get weekends where there aren't many missed kicks. It just happens that way. As the weather gets worse too, more wind, colder conditions, harder football to kick, all of those things, you might get some misses, but no excuses. These guys are professionals. Just put it through the uprights. JCamman99 says, don't miss too much of the Bills game after your game tomorrow. I'm sorry your game is on a weekday afternoon. Been there. I'm not. I'm simply going to record your game, start from the beginning, and catch up. I know how to do this. I've done it many a times. The 2020 if nothing else, has taught me how to be able to multitask and adjust to things that I, wasn't prepared to have to adjust to and for, but I figured it out. So I got a little bit of a system here. HHC Lunar says, I was the one guy who said the Leonard Williams trade was worth it. It feels great, like a great trade today. I thought it was a bust of a trade, but when it was first made, that is. I felt like Dave Gettleman was doubling down on his mistake by offering up the franchise tag because he wanted validation. And he's getting it this year. He didn't do this last year when they got him. He was a disappointment. And for whatever reason, this year he is lighting it up. And I'm going to learn the defensive coordinator in New York's name because he's damn good. As every week that I watch them, this is a well-coached defense. They're disciplined. And they don't have an elite pass rusher. Not a single one on this team. Yet they continue to get pressure every single week that I watch them. And that's nothing but coaching. So I need to learn his name. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up right now. Because that man deserves some respect. Hey, Google. Giants defensive coordinator. Patrick Graham. You probably heard Google tell me. Patrick Graham is his name. And he deserves some damn respect. Put some respect on his damn name. That Leonard Williams trade looks like a damn steal now because he's balling. At times, unblockable today by Seattle's front. And he single-handedly wrecked shop late in that ball game. Couple of really impactful rushes, including a sack at the end of that game that really made it hard for Seattle to try to convert late in that ball game. Asan Moore says, if the Giants can beat Seattle, don't you think Washington can because we have a better defense and offense? I had a conversation earlier with a Washington fan that didn't seem to understand this concept. No, that because the Giants did it doesn't mean we can do it. Because Cincinnati beat the Tennessee Titans doesn't mean we can beat the Tennessee Titans because we beat Cincinnati. It's not how this works in this league. First of all, the Giants, their defense as a collective unit, they're better than Washington's defense. So let's get that straight. Washington's defensive line may be better than the Giants. Their entire defense is not better. The Giants don't give up big plays. The Giants don't have mental breakdowns. The Giants don't have a poor linebacker core. The Giants' defense as a complete unit, they're better than Washington. Look at their performances this year. Look at what they've done to some offenses that we're used to seeing score points. Like the Rams, for instance. We played the Rams, they scored 30 on us. The Giants played the Rams, they barely scored 13 points against the Giants. What was it, 16? That game was 9-7 in the fourth quarter. 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They've put the shackles on more teams this year defensively than Washington has. And they just didn't know how to win because their offense isn't very good. But to sit here and say, well, the Giants did this to Seattle, we should be able to. No, that's not the same thing. Because DK Metcalf, I assure you, their one corner, James Bradbury, is better than any corner that we have. That's number one. So let's start there. Their safety, Logan Ryan, better than any defensive back that we have in our secondary. Okay? Let's go there. Then you look at I should say safety. I shouldn't say better than any defensive back, but he's a hell of a football player. Logan Ryan is an exceptional safety. And then you add Jabril Peppers, their secondary 10 times better than our secondary. It's not even close. So when you look at, they don't give up big plays in the back end. They get consistent pressure. Russell Wilson was under siege today. I don't know if he'll be under siege against us or not. Maybe he will. But to say, well, the Giants beat them, we should beat them. No, that's not how this works. And the Giants only turned it over one time. We might play them, and we might piss the bed and turn it over 4 times because you know we're capable of doing that. If we don't beat ourselves and we don't give up big plays, we might have a shot. I'm not saying we won't have a shot against Seattle, but to say, well, the Giants beat them, we should be able to beat them, that's false. And actually, that's disrespectful to the Giants. JP says, nobody is beating the Chiefs team, this Chiefs team in the postseason. Second straight Lombardi trophy is coming. I'm not going to crown their ass. If you want to crown their ass, then crown them. I'm not going to do that, but I think they'll be in the Super Bowl. HHC Lunar says, the OBJ trade is looking like a fleece for the Giants. Crazy how much the Browns gave up for 1,000 yards of Beckham. You know, I said I'm going to save it for my podcast. I really want to talk about it now. I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Cody _ says, we probably won't win the Super Bowl, but man, I want to win this year. I truly think this will be our last year we can truly win one with Rodgers. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like that window is closing. This was the year to do it. That's why I felt like you needed to be more aggressive. Go get him some help at receiver, but we'll see what happens. JCamman99 says, I think the Giants will win the East. It looks like it. I've already declared the Giants in the driver's seat. All they have to do is not throw up all over themselves. Don't regurgitate all over yourself down the stretch, and the East is yours. I mean, I'm looking at Arizona. I said they look like food for the Giants. I'm looking at the Ravens. I think the Ravens will beat them. And I look at the Cowboys, and I'm like, you can beat the Cowboys. You can do that. So I think they're going to win at least 2 more games. 7, I already said this from the jump. 7 wins the division. Everyone thinks that this division is going to be won by double-digit losses, 6 and 10. I said, stop. Somebody's winning 7 in this division. And the Giants, who knows? They could get to 8. You know, somebody asked me, hey, look, the real conversation needs to be, can these boys get back to 500? I don't know. Maybe they can. All they got to do is win 3 out of their final 4. And they've already won 4 straight, so they're already playing hot football. So we'll see. Asad Moore says, do you think the Broncos will be good come the next years with this defense and some pieces on offense? It all depends on the quarterback position, to be honest with you. You know how this goes. You know, the defense can be as good as they want to be, but if you're being held back by the quarterback position, it stunts your growth. So they got to figure it out with Drew Lock. If he's not the guy, then you got to get the guy in there. So I think they need to have patience with Drew Lock. And I'm not saying keep him for 3 years, you know, after this year. Next year. If it doesn't work next year, then you move on. So, and I'm a firm believer in making sure you do it the right way. If Vic Fangio is gone this year, then Drew Lock needs to be gone. Like, don't burden your new coach with a leftover quarterback that he didn't ask for. Obviously, if he takes the job, he knows what he's signing up for. You're going to talk to him about, hey, we like Drew Lock. We think he's the guy here. How do you feel about Drew Lock? If you want the job, you'll say whatever you need to say to get the job. Like Mike McCarthy said, hey, I watched all of Dallas's film, every single game last year. And then he said, I actually didn't do that. You say whatever you need to say to get the job. You know, it's the same thing Jay Gruden said when he took the job in Washington. Hey, I can fix Robert Griffin III. No, he couldn't. He didn't. He knew he couldn't fix Robert Griffin III. He knew that wasn't the guy. But he said, look, I can fix him. I can make him a great quarterback. You say whatever you need to say to get your foot in the door. And then once you get in there, what, you going to fire me? What, you going to pay me for the next 5 years? No, you're going to keep letting me coach this team. So I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And I'm moving on from this dude. Don't burden your next coach with Drew Lock. If that coach doesn't think Drew Lock is the guy, you let him move on and get the guy that he thinks can help him win. I feel like Vic Fangio should be back, Drew Lock should be back, and let those dudes try and do it next year. And if it doesn't work, you move on from Lock, you move on from Vic Fangio, you start anew. JCamman99 says, Al Michaels is skipping the Bills game next week, but he goes to the Broncos game. Explain. I don't know. I already told you he's getting up there in age. He's 76 years old. A lot of traveling. It's COVID-19. You don't want an older guy like Al Michaels being exposed. I don't know. You know, it's COVID-19. So it's 2020. All of this stuff can be explained. It makes sense to me. He shouldn't be doing a ton of traveling. I don't want him in a bunch of different cities. I don't want him getting on a whole bunch of flights. I don't want my 76-year-old play-by-play guy being exposed too often. So if that's the way they want to do it and they want to cut down his travel, I love it. More Mike Tirico for me and everybody else. JCamman99 says, I'm worried about the Broncos. They got a good defense, and the Bills can't stop the run. They're fully capable of beating anybody on any given Sunday, are these Broncos. They're fully capable of stymieing somebody's offense, reducing them to 17 points, and winning the game 20-17. We've seen them do it. They did it to the Dolphins a couple of weeks ago. They did it to the Patriots earlier this season. Like, they're fully capable of revving it up defensively and doing just enough on the offensive side and winning the game. I don't think they're going to beat you, but you should be worried because they are good enough to beat you. If you come with a lackluster performance like you did against the Chargers a couple of weeks ago, or last week rather, they'll beat you. You know, they'll beat you. You gotta be able to come. You gotta come with your A game. Reese says the Super Bowl goes through KC. If you want to go to Tampa in February and you're in the AFC, you got to go through them. Pittsburgh wants no parts of this team. Pittsburgh isn't afraid. Let's get this straight. And if they can hold on to the number 1 seed, the Steelers feel really good about where they're sitting right now, as they should. The Steelers are not afraid of the Chiefs. Let's get one thing straight. However, they respect the hell out of the Chiefs and understand the challenge that is in front of them. And if you want to have the best chance to go to Tampa, you need to be playing at Heinz Field. So I think you're 110% spot on in your assessment that if you want to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC, it goes through KC, but it doesn't have to actually go through KC. You can get there if you're Pittsburgh by just staying at home and taking care of business. But you're not talking about going through actual Arrowhead. You're talking about going through this Chiefs team, and that's where we agree, 110%. You want to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC, you don't have to beat the Chiefs, period. They're the new Patriots. I told you the Patriots passed the baton to this Chiefs team. I didn't feel like we got our ceremonial passing of the torch. I wanted that last year. But the Patriots didn't get there. But I wanted them to beat them. I wanted this to be like the Bulls in 1991 defeating the Pistons. Like, I wanted them to actually say, all right, old dog, you had your day. Now it's our time. And them pass the baton to them. Like the Celtics did to the Pistons and then the Pistons did to the Bulls. Pass the baton off. You had your run. Now it's somebody else. It's the young guns' time to shine. And we didn't get that. So they're the new sheriff in the AFC though. Asan Moore, do you think the Broncos are heading in the right direction as far as the rebuild? I do, personally. I like the young talent that they've assembled. I think they've got a really good squad, and it's just going to take some time. JP says, wonder how much BS the Bolin family can take from Elway before they finally fire his ass. Guy continues to get it wrong at quarterback. He does. He continues to get it wrong at the quarterback position. I don't know, neither do you, if they've gotten it wrong this time, however. But he was responsible for the Brock Osweilers of the world. He was responsible for the 7th round pick. What was the guy out of Northwestern that they trotted out there and tried to make a starter that was awful? He was responsible for the who was the guy that was in there also? Oh my God, they drafted somebody else too. Yikes! It's been bad with Elway, man, and these quarterbacks. He just can't figure it out. Oh, what the hell is his name? The dude from Memphis, the big tall sumbitch. Can't think of his damn name. The big, you know who the hell I'm talking about. Big, tall ass dude that was supposed to be an athlete. It's trash. Anyway, Reese says the Jets are officially losing for Lawrence. It's like they tried to lose the Raiders game. I talked about that earlier. I don't think they tried. It may seem that way. That wasn't the right way to go about it, though. Greg Williams, I know what he was trying to do. That wasn't the right way to go about it. Cody _ says, Super Bowl 45 rematch for Super Bowl 55. Steelers versus Packers. Nah, I'm joking. LOL. I mean, that's the last time Rodgers got a chip. So, we'll see. Sam Moore says, The Chargers are looking bad this year and playing garbage. They got demolished 45-0. Do you think they should fire Anthony Lynn? I talked about that earlier. I've talked to Chargers fans that think it's time for Anthony Lynn to go. I like Anthony Lynn. A lot of the circumstances in Los Angeles haven't really been his fault. But you're the coach. Somebody's got to take the blame. And that guy's going to ultimately be Anthony Lynn. Gregory Lightbody says it's hard knowing you have to draft a quarterback because when you look at guys like Pitts, Parsons, and Chase, you can't pass up on them. You got to do what you got to do. This is the thing. If you love a quarterback supersedes everything else. You get the quarterback. If you don't love a quarterback, you don't reach. You take the guy that you love. If you love Parsons and you're in a position to draft him, you take Michael Parsons. If you love the quarterback, let's say the only guy that you truly loved in the draft at quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. You like some other guys, but you don't love any of them. You just love Lawrence. Well, you weren't number one overall, so you don't get Trevor Lawrence. So you may say, look, I think there's not much difference between the second quarterback and the seventh quarterback in this draft. I'm taking Michael Parsons because there's a big difference between him and the next 6 linebackers in this draft. I'm taking Parsons, and we'll double back and get a quarterback in the second or the third round where we don't think it's much of a difference. That's how you have to assess this. If you love a quarterback, there's nothing to talk about. You take the quarterback and you move on. Reese says, Wentz has the worst O-line in football this year and a terrible supporting cast. What does everyone expect him to do? Wentz didn't forget how to play football. His confidence is shot. There's a lot of truth in what you just said, especially the last part about his confidence being shot. However, some of the mistakes he's making, he can't make those mistakes as a guy that's been in the league now for 5 years, 17, 18, 19, 20, 4 years. Can't make the kind of mistakes that he's making. At some point, you got to be able to say, I'm going to get rid of this football. He takes more sacks than any other. And some of it is his line. His line is not good. But some of this is on him. He'll be back there for 4 seconds, still trying to make a play. Like, yo, Carson, get out of there and throw it away. And he just cowers into a sack, or he runs into a sack. He's throwing up balls that get picked off. You're like, what are you doing, dude? And a lot of it is a lack of confidence right now. You're absolutely right. And I think, early on, I attributed a lot of his struggles to him pressing. Him feeling like he needed to be the guy that like last year, for instance. The reason they won the division was strictly Carson Wentz. It was Greg Ward at receiver and nobody else. And he drugged that sad sack of supporting cast along and got him to the postseason. It was all him. And he felt like he had to do that again this year when the season started, and he didn't get the same results that he got last year. And it's a shame because he's really, really struggling. Bad. To the point now where people want to get rid of him. Got another super chat here from Lurtz of Orthanic. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Lurtz of Orthanic writes. 45-0, worst shutout in Chargers history, Belichick. I told you, I can't remember the Chargers getting beat up that badly before. They didn't used to even do that with Brady under center. And this isn't the team, and I said this earlier, this isn't the Patriots team that you're supposed to get beat up 45-0 against. But I told you, this is the heart of a champion. That's what you call championship medal. And Belichick, you say what you want, man, he knows how to coach it up. And they scored 2 special teams touchdowns today. They took advantage of a Chargers team that was just simply overwhelmed, and they poured it on thick. Never let up. Like the Browns had the Titans, and I get it. The Titans aren't the Chargers. They're not 3-9. Okay, I understand that. However, the Browns had the Titans 38-7, and they took their foot off the gas pedal and won 41-35. Now, once they recovered the onside kick, they were never in danger of actually losing. Like the Titans never had the football with a chance to take the lead. But to allow a game that you're up by 31 points in, and we saw it against Dallas, same exact thing. It's crazy. They never took their foot off the gas pedal. That's how you get a shutout of that proportion. Crazy. Thank you for the super chat, Lurts of Orthanic. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Vincent Cole writes, is the Giants defense legit or Hawks trash today? No, the Giants defense is legit. They've been good all season long. And if you watch them, this is what they've done. They've hung around. They've battled. Look at what they did to Tampa. Look at what they did to the Rams. Look at what they did to you today. This is what they've done all season long. It doesn't matter who they've played. They've been in the game. They were in the game against the Steelers, and if not for a boneheaded Daniel Jones interception at the 1 yard line in the end zone, they had a chance to win that game. It was 13-10 late in the third quarter. This is what they've done defensively all year long. And so, not surprised. Anybody that's watched the Giants, not surprised by what they've done defensively. And their defensive coordinator, Graham, deserves a ton of credit because he's had a bunch of mixed-matched parts, guys getting injured, and they haven't taken a step back at all this season defensively. So some of it was the Seahawks not executing. I thought that they felt the pressure of a game that they felt like they needed to win, and you could see them starting to seize up a bit. They clammed up. You know, Russ is tossing the ball to the running back. He drops it. Russ is throwing a little BB over the middle to the tight end. He drops it right through his hands. Like, you could see a team that was playing tight. Russ missed a couple of opportunities down the field. I hated the 4th and 1 call with a passion. I know the Giants' rush defense is one of the best in the league, but that's ass. That call was ass, pure ass on the part of the Seahawks on 4th and 1. You got to give me something better than that. Anyway, so hello defensive performance by the Giants. You got to give them credit. And they ran the football on your ass, too. Because even with the way they played defense, they still weren't supposed to score any points with Colt McCoy at quarterback. But the one thing you couldn't let them do, because Colt McCoy wasn't going to beat you, was let them run the football. And you let Wayne Gallman run for like $115 on you. $120. That shit can't happen. But it did. Thank you for the super chat, Vincent Cole. Got another one here from Lurts of Orthanic. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Lurts of Orthanic, who writes, how's Miami D so strong? They keep showing up. This is a well-constructed defense. First of all, you know that their head coach, Brian Flores, came from New England, where he's a defensive-minded coach. So he has a mindset of how he wants to build the defense, similar to the way that they had it in New England. He comes from that Belichick school of thought of we build from the secondary down. Okay, a lot of people think, well, we start on the defensive line and we build there and we fan out. Well, in Belichick's philosophy defensively, it's always been, I need a shutdown corner and I'll figure out the rest of the stuff. Give me one shutdown corner and a safety that I trust to cover, and I'll figure it out. He's never had an elite rusher, has Belichick. All right. So when you look at what Brian Flores has done in Miami, he immediately comes in. They got it, Xavier Howard. He said, you know what he says? Man, that guy's nice. You know what would make it even better? If I went out and got another guy across from him. So what do? Throw a bunch of money at Byron Jones. Now they got 2 defenders that they think can lock down on the outside. They draft Noah Igbenogany in the nickel. So now they add another corner to the mix. They already had McCain, who they really liked. And so you look at their secondary, and they get the guys that they think can lock down on the outside. Then they start going, they say, all right, I'm going to go get Kyle Van Noy. I love what he did for me in New England. I'm going to bring him here with me. So they go get Van Noy. They draft Van Ginkel out of Wisconsin. He's been a revelation for them. And they just build all these little pieces. They had Jerome Baker and all these other guys that were already there that they really liked. And it all comes together. You get the defensive tackle, Wilkins from Clemson, and you add the defensive end from Buffalo out of Clemson, and it just all comes together. A bunch of solid defensive players, but it all starts in that secondary, being able to lock down receivers, and that allows them the time to get to the quarterback, and they force turnovers. They forced turnovers. They figured it out. They got the sauce. All right, we already hit our hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and glide to the side. I really appreciate y'all kicking it with me. Chiefs, get it done 22-16 over the Denver Broncos. Valiant effort, as someone said earlier tonight. Valiant effort by the Denver Broncos and their defense, but it just simply wasn't enough. I think that they said it was 6 straight. Make it 7 now for the Chiefs over the Denver Broncos as Mahomes continues to dominate. Hasn't lost to this Broncos team yet. And I remember one of his first starts on primetime television was against the Broncos on a Monday night. And I remember when that was the terrible Monday night crew. I think that was with Witten and Booger. And so that was 18. I think that was that first year when Mahomes was doing all this crazy stuff. And I remember that night, Joe Tessitore kept calling him Showtime Mahomes. That was the game where it was like 3rd and 23, and he throws a 24-yard pass, and you're like, this is unreal. What we're watching tonight, they had no business beating the Broncos that night. Long story short, no business beating the Broncos that night. And I think they had Case Keenum at quarterback, and he missed a wide-ass open receiver down the sideline. I think it was Emmanuel Sanders that would have won them the game. They had no business, and Mahomes brought him back. And I don't know when they're going to beat them. I really don't know. It could be another, 3-4 years before they get a win against the. It could, that winning streak could get ugly, and it could get up to like 11, 12 straight. Where you're like, God damn, we can't beat them to save our life. The Raiders had to snap the streak this year. The Chargers, I think, beat them last year, if not last year. They came close this year. Should have beat them in L.A. earlier this season. This Denver Broncos team could be in trouble if they don't figure out the quarterback position. They may never beat this Chiefs team. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys chopping it up with me. Make sure that if you haven't already done so, subscribe to LouieTeeNetwork for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Also, hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Show some love and support for your man, Louie T. I can't thank you guys enough. Chiefs get the win 22-16. Get to 11-1. Keep pace, just a half game back now of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pending the outcome of their game tomorrow, we could have a first place tie for the number 1 seed in the AFC if the Steelers aren't able to get it done. If the Steelers do win tomorrow, they will remain a game up on these Chiefs at 12-0. So getting hot in the AFC for the number 1 seed. Same thing in the NFC. 1 game separates the 2 best teams in both respective conferences. So Chiefs do their part. Now we'll see if the Steelers can do theirs as they take care of business 22-16 over the Denver Broncos. Broncos fall to 4-8 on the season. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will come back tomorrow. Busy day tomorrow. Got the Louie T Network podcast. I'm going to have a pregame show for the Washington game. 5 o'clock, Washington takes on Pittsburgh. After that game, we'll be here for Washington football overtime. And then after that, we got Bills, 49ers, and I'll be, after that game, here for overtime. So it's a jam-packed schedule tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see you for all of it. Until then, take care. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.